like to welcome you all to Eggs and Issues this morning. We're grateful for TCEC. They sponsored breakfast, so please give them a round of applause. And I did notice that they have a gift back in the back. So if you, as you're leaving, if you'd like to pick that up, it'd probably be easier than keeping it at your table. It's a pretty nice little gift. So thank you, TCC. We appreciate that. We also have with us today our ambassadors, of course, and members of our community. We would like to keep everybody informed. And so what we're going to do, if you haven't been here before, is that we allow the panel to give an update, and then after they're completed, if you have questions, I come around to where you're at. You have to tell me your name and ask your question, but you have to do it in the microphone because although we are on a speaker, we're also on TV. So people in TV land need to make sure that we are that you're heard, so they'll know what questions you're asking. And PTCI does a great job for us, and it'll be on their YouTube channel, I believe. And so if you are interested in finding out what's going on that way, check out their YouTube channel because they have lots of stuff on there. So I can't stall any longer, I don't think. Who won rock, paper, scissors? All right. So we're going to start. I think if nobody knows, Tanner Roberts and Kitten Piskowski and Casey Murdoch. So we'll go in that. I thought you said Kitten was going first.
He's going first.
Oh, am I in your way?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, Kitten.
Can you hear me? Am I online? Everything good?
Yep.
Well, welcome to Eggs and Issues this morning, and it's good to be back in the Panhandle. I just got back late last night. We ended up in Oklahoma City, where we come back. I'm sure that's why Jada sets these up on Fridays as we get back. We can talk about issues of the day. I thought I might just start out with a couple funny stories, then we'll talk about some policy issues, and we'll go from there. We'll gig Casey a little bit on some Senate bills, maybe, if we can. We'll try to leave Tanner plenty of time. And if I've told a story before, just do this. That's what my wife does. I'm starting to get forgetful. These are on myself. I'm a freshman, and you get down there and you don't have any idea what you're doing. And the really first major thing that happened to me, and maybe I told this last time, is I locked myself out of my apartment.
I don't think you did.
Yeah. You get in a hurry and you have 10 million things on your mind. And I just flat left my keys at home. And I can't get in my apartment. And but I kind of got lucky. I had a phone number, and I called, and the grounds people were already there, and they were able to get me a key. And it just cost me $5 to get this key. So we got all that set up. But it wasn't but just 6 weeks later, and this just happened. This just happened this past week. I get in one evening about 7. We had a reception. It's time to maybe watch some Fox News, and just relax a minute. Well, I go in and I never think anything of it. And I turned the light on. The lights didn't come on. I go, well, I wonder if it's just the bulb. Well, I got to checking around. There's no lights anywhere on there. And my wheels start turning. I go, wonder what's going on. So I go check my meter. And in this apartment, there's meters. And they flash different, your number. And mine was flashing open. And my neighbors were flashing closed. 3 of my neighbors were closed and mine was open. And I go, oh my goodness. They've shut my electricity off. So apparently, long story short, apparently I haven't paid my electric bill in 3 months. It takes about 3 months for them to shut your electric bill. So I guess I've been lucky all these years with Tri-County Electric. If you're late with your bill or something, they kind of call you or send you something in the mail. You get to pay your electric bill. But the crazy part of this is it's all electronic, and I start calling OG&E. It took me about 15 minutes to make all these phone calls and punch all these numbers in my cell phone. And from the time I got a text that my payment had been successfully received, Tanner, I had electricity in 3 minutes from when that text came. So I thought that was kind of humorous. So old representative, he didn't get his electric bill paid. And they, in Oklahoma City, they will just shut you off. Probably first on the list, has anybody been out to Hooker lately? Have you seen any speed limit sign changes?
I've seen a lot of people on Facebook happy.
Yeah. That's a done deal. We got that taken care of. Kind of tell you the story on that. I ran a bill to do that, and Transportation Department called me. Ron McDaniel he's the division engineer, Division 6 over at Buffalo. He said, hey, Pitzkowski, he said, I got an idea. He said, we could probably make this a neater, cleaner deal if we talk you out of running that bill or just hold off on it. He said, I think we can do it if we just do a feasibility study. He said, I know that road. He said, that's a 4-lane already. He said, let us study it. Let us see where we can go with it. He said, the guys above me and below me, they like 70 mile an hour. He said, I think we can get there with it. I said, sure, get after it. It wasn't a month later, he calls me back. Yeah, I think you're already set to go. He said, no need to run that bill. I said, thank you. I don't need any more things on my plate. And it went from there. The April commission meeting was Monday. And Jada, they had me there. They had me on the front row. I sat in a reserved seat in a room of 100 people, Leon. And they even asked me to speak. And I had to give this nice little speech about how nice the Transportation Department, and I wasn't lying, they were. This was a really a great process, and how they treated us well out here, and how the people of the Panhandle appreciated them moving that speed limit to 70 mile an hour. It's a big deal to us, where we've got so many miles to cover. So we did that, and the amazing part about that was there was a seat open for the governor that day. And he was running a little late, and I almost had to give my presentation in front of the governor. Now, you talk about, that could have been nerve-wracking. He was doing a presentation on Safety Awareness Week, and he did get there late, just shortly after I sat down. So we got Highway 54 up to 70 mile an hour, except for Tyrone East. They're still working on that road. I did notice they gave me the papers on that. If I read them right, some of you people that go that way, that 45 mile an hour stretch out there by the plant, I think it's 50. Has anybody, that part where you go, man, this is slow at 45, where it starts getting open, according to this paper they sent me, it could be 50, so watch for that. We got our hemp bill passed. It's going over to the Senate. I wish Casey was here. We need to find out why the Senate is so late getting the hemp bill passed. Judith's not here. I owe Judith an apology. I voted no on one of Judith's bills, but I have a good reason. I got it. She, in our assessment, well, Leon knows about this. When we do our ag assessments and our ag equipment, there's a little part in there, I swear under oath that these items are true and correct and accurate. And there was a member wanted that out of there so people wouldn't be signing perjury if they missed an old plow or something. And Judith wanted that in there. So I owe her an apology, except it's already in statute, this member, and I haven't looked it up. We got to get that looked up for Judith to be sure that is accurate. That the swear under oath is in there. It's just in there a little deeper. He just cleaned up that bill a little bit. There's Shelley. We got the pharmacy bill passed in the House. It has not went through the Senate. Now, Shelley, a little bit of bad news, but it's not horrible. And I wanted to say this in front of Casey. My pharmacy guy, he's a freshman. I talked to him just last week. He said the Senate bill isn't as neat and clean and tidy as the House bill. He's listening now. So, Casey, there's Shelley, our pharmacy lady. The House guy said the pharmacy bill that your people are preparing isn't quite as neat and clean and tidy and stout. So you might just keep an eye on that. But we'll take whatever we can get. Send us a good bill, Casey, and we need to help our pharmacists out. It was a lot of it. This will go over your head. It went over mine. PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. It's another entity. They get over there. They scrape off a bunch of money and keep it and make it very inefficient for us. Shelley can explain that better to you. On the legal front, Senate Bill 252, I don't know where Casey is on that. I'll let him speak about that. A couple of my judges, when it comes over to the House, they want me to vote no on that. They don't like it. It's a bail bill. Need to speak a little bit about the feral hog bill a little bit. We had in committee, in the Ag Committee, changing definitions of feral hog. Leon, have you ever heard of heritage hogs? Have you really? I haven't. Well, anyway, we have a producer in southeastern Oklahoma that is producing feral hogs, and he's using heritage hogs as an excuse. And the Ag Department's been after him for years and can't get him to clean his act up. And he won't do his permitting. So we had a bill come through that requires him to, it defines his hogs. Those hogs, the heritage hogs, can no longer, they're considered feral hogs now, and he can no longer do that. He was picking up hogs from people that trap them, take them to his place, and turning them out of the trailer and let people shoot them he charges people to shoot them as they come out of his trailer. So, yeah, kind of a crazy deal. And you know, that bill got, it didn't pass as easy as you might have thought. It was like 12-6 in committee. But anyway, I've got a couple of water bills. We've got our water district bill. It's moving right along. It just come out of the Senate Ag Committee yesterday, I believe. I sat in on that bill. I was able to, we had an extra water bill. That freed up an extra water bill. I did a water bill for oil and gas and Oklahoma Water Resources Board. It takes, the language in it was fresh water. They wanted it changed to TDS, total dissolved solids, 5,000 parts per million. They wanted it cleanly and clearly defined to where we can take water that's not good enough for fresh water. We can take that water, instead of plugging them, we can use that for industrial uses, you know, geothermal, air conditioning, maybe fracs. We don't just have to plug non-drinkable water wells. We can use them for industrial. So we got that through committee. I was happy to do that for those folks. We did get I might have told you this last time, we did run a $1,200 teacher pay raise through the House. That was as per governor's request. It's going over to the Senate. It's hitting a little bit of resistance there. They're not quite as on board with it as the House was. We'll see on that. I think maybe they added some stuff to it that might be problematic. It may not make it through. So I hope it doesn't upset the teachers that they're not going to get a $1,200 raise. It looked like it might, but it may not. We'll just have to see on that. Trying to think of some more things that's happened. We had a lot of good visitors have come. Leadership Guyman was there 2 weeks ago, or was that last week? A great group.
The 26th and 27th, I don't know what week.
And before that, we had the
Last week, yeah.
Panhandle Irrigators there.
They were there with us.
we had, let's see, I went to the conservation meeting. That's where I saw Susie and her husband. Shelley, you didn't come, but you was calling during the pharmacy time. Oh, yeah, you were there, yeah. Sorry. Man, I fumbled again. So, with that, I need to hear from you. These issues you hear, issues you have. I'm your representative. We'll dig them out. We'll figure it out. Made a lot of contacts, a lot of friends. Anything you have, any concerns you have, that's what I'm there for. We're busy, busy, busy. It seems like it's fast and furious. It's fast when you don't want it to be fast, and it's slow when you don't want it to be slow. You know, sometimes it's very maddening the way it works. But we're trotting along. We're making it work. I'm settled in. I'm feeling a lot better about the process. Oh, and there's my page, Katie. Katie was there. She paged for me one of those weeks, and it's good to have her there. So with that, I'll turn it. Maybe you have a specific question for me. I'll take it right now, and if not, I'll turn it over to Casey or Tanner.
Oh, hang on.
Hi, I'm Vonda Wilkins. I wanted to know more about the bail bill and what your position is on it.
I just got it, and I think I've got it in here. I'm probably gonna be a no on it, just on the strength of the two judges. I haven't talked to Judge Parsley, but Judge Reddick has. He likes the flexibility in it. He gave me a case of just this month of where this little gal didn't get her fine paid, I believe, and he was supposed to lock her up, and she was job interviewing that day, and she went before him, and he said it gave me the flexibility. The old law gave him the flexibility to let her go ahead and go apply for that job. He said, I need her back in the workforce. I need her on her own. I don't need her in jail. So
the new law wouldn't give him that flexibility?
that's the way I understood. That's the way I understood it.
Okay, well, I'd appreciate it if you could research that.
Is that one you're in favor of?
I don't know enough about it, but I am in favor of bail reform. My experience as a criminal defense attorney is that we're keeping too many people in jail when they need to be out with their jobs. So what Judge Reddick was talking about, that's a very rare occurrence. We have people who live in town who are going to make their court appearances and don't need to have a bond set.
Okay. Any other question? So would you be a yes on that? Are you a yes on that bail reform bill?
I don't know the specifics of the bill, but I am in favor of bail reform.
Okay.
Okay, Casey.
All right.
I'm gonna grab it.
Repre-
I hate to
I
eat.
keep calling them first names. Senator Murdoch. Be official.
I want to start out. I'm just going to sit and visit. I want to start out by saying Kenton is doing a great job. He's learning. He's just every day he gets to be a better representative just by learning the process. And he presented a bill this past week, and I heard great reviews of how he presented that bill. He said he did a great job. So I just want to let you know Kenton he's hit the ground running. He's doing you all a good job. I don't know what he said when I wasn't here. I hope it was as nice as that. But things are moving along very well. It looks like rumors are we may be out on the 3rd of May. But you know, that is coming from the Capitol, and you cannot believe anything that's said in the Capitol. I'm thinking more about the 10th to the 15th, but and that's because we're way ahead in the budgeting process compared to years past, and I think that's because the House and the Senate and the governor are working together. And with that being said, this year we have worked together much better than we have had in the past. In the past, it seemed like the House was fighting the Senate fighting the House, and the governor fighting all of us. I had the governor in my office this week. He's been in my office twice. I see him in the halls, and I had someone in the office yesterday and said, I've seen the governor more just this session than I saw Mary Fallon through 8 years. Just out connecting with legislators. And you know, that building down there is about relationships. It's relationships that you build, and it helps. It helps, and so going along real good. Yeah, we need to fight a little bit. We need to push back a little bit. It's just we're not vetting the bills good if we're not vetting them, and I say fight, but we've got to go through. We can't agree on everything. I've talked about previously the Senate agenda, and that's going along real good. Accountability, and this year for me, and I think for the Senate leadership, has been gathering the reins up on agencies and getting them accountable. It's across the board. Every agency has ran rampant with no checks for probably since statehood or since that agency was incepted. There's no accountability, and I think that's why we've gotten into some of the jams that we've gotten into. We need more accountability. As far as the teacher pay raise, Kenton is correct. The Senate this year does not believe we need to stick money into a teacher pay raise. We think that money needs to go into the classroom. We want to get money to the classroom. We gave teachers a raise last year. We want to get money to the classroom this year. And I know a lot of the teachers that came into my office last year during the walkout, they said they wasn't there for the raise. They were there for money to the classroom. And so we want to get money to the classroom. And that's kind of where the Senate priority is. The negotiations on that is still ongoing. How that's going to come out in the final product, how that's going to look, I don't know, but we are negotiating with that. But the Senate is pretty firm on getting money to the classroom. We're getting, next week is deadline for getting House bills out of our committee work done, and that's going fairly smooth on our side, contrary to what leadership in the Senate thinks. We are getting bills heard. That's one of the fights. They think we're not hearing their bills, and we're running through them about as fast as we can. But sometimes you get impatient when you're sitting there and you're waiting on your bill to be heard, and deadline is coming up. You start to get a little nervous, because when the clock strikes on Thursday afternoon, and I say Thursday afternoon, you have one committee a week. When Ag Committee is on Monday. Monday's the last day to hear any bills in Ag. So as soon as Monday's over, if your bill wasn't heard, it's dead for the year. And so you do get nervous is when you get up close to the deadlines and your bill hadn't been heard. So leadership's getting heard, but unless they're just a bad bill, their bill's going to be heard. We have, I think, accomplished a lot of things this year. And like I said, in my mind, this year was accountability, bringing agencies into accountability and getting reins taken up on them. We passed the loft off of and loft is Legislative Office of Finance Transparency, I think is the acronym. Basically, it's auditing agencies. The U.S. has, what is that, Budget, Office of Budget?
Yeah, Office of Budget Management, or OBM.
Yeah, OBM. But what that does is that gives an office that is directly under the legislature that they can get true numbers. Back to accountability. Agencies have been lying to the legislature for years. I've only been there 4 years, and the numbers they give us on what we have to budget off of have been wrong. I mean, you've heard about the health department debacle. They gave us, one agency had 2 sets of books. The books they used and the books they showed the legislature. And for me, I got plumb mad because first of all, I don't like being lied to. Second, I don't like being lied about. But when they're bringing these numbers on for us to budget off of and say, these are our numbers, these are our needs, and they're giving us the wrong numbers to budget off of, how can we do a good job if we don't have the right numbers? So we created this loft is what it's called, and what that will be, I think the House wants about 15 auditors in there that will bring us legit numbers. And I think that's good. That got passed. We gave the governor the authority to hire and fire the top 5 agency directors, and then the boards will serve at will. I think that's a huge step for the governor. He didn't have to do that. You hear of plausible deniability. I don't like that. I'm accountable to you guys. If I screw up, you're sending me home. But you'll call down there and say, well, this agency's messing up. It's real easy for me to say, I have no control over that agency. And plausible deniability, pass the buck. For the governor to step up and say, I want hiring and firing authority over these agencies, and he didn't have to, and it's caused kind of a rift, but he stepped up to the plate. I want this responsibility because it needs fixed. He didn't have to do that. He could have had that plausible deniability like everybody else has had and just skate, just coast right on through. But no, he stepped up to the plate. I want this responsibility. And, the accountability is on that agency head, but it's also the governor's got accountability to make sure these agencies are running right because, if he screws up the deal, he's gone. But I think we need that. We need that. We've done that, and we are working on I'm not on the subcommittee on education, but we are working on getting more funding to the classroom. But like I said, I don't know what those budget negotiations are with the House. I know they want to do a $1,200 teacher pay raise. They want to do a $1,000 tax credit for teachers that are buying supplies for the room. But, and I mean this with all due respect, Kenton. The House sent us $1.2 billion worth of spending bills. And I guess when I'm sitting down there and my mindset on this is this is y'all's money. It's not the state's money. And I was at a place and at an event, and somebody was talking, and they were saying, well, the state's money, and we're going to do this with the state's money, and we're going to do this with the state's money. I don't look at it as this is the state's money. I look at this as it's your money. It's the people of Oklahoma's money. It's their tax dollars, and I want to make sure we are spending it as efficiently and effectively as we can, and it goes without saying, and you'll hear me praise the governor a lot. He is wanting to run this state like a business. He wants to run this state as a service business. And for us out here, what I like about it is, and I've preached for a long time, we are, I hope there's no redheaded people in here, and I apologize, but they treat us like the redheaded stepchild. Susie, I'm so sorry. I don't know any other, but they treat us like second-hand citizens, second-class citizens out here, and they cut services, and the governor has gone out and says, we are a service company, and he has hired a COO, Chief Operating Officer. There are several states that have these COOs for the state. This COO is going to make sure that the services are being given to the people of Oklahoma in a timely manner. He's going to make sure dollars are getting where these dollars are supposed to go in a timely manner. He's going to hold them accountable. So it's your money that we're spending down there, and I want to make sure we're spending it as well as we can. You know, they've sent us a COLA bill. I will never argue the fact that the retired teachers don't need a COLA. I just want to do it in the right way. 10 years ago, maybe 12. When you get old, 2005 seems like yesterday. But the teacher retirement fund was about broke. It was about insolvent. And over the last 10 years, we've got it back up to about 80%. Like I said, I will not argue the fact that they need it. I just want to do it the right way. And so in law, when we give a COLA, when that passes the legislature, then it has to go to an actuary, and then they give us a study on what are the costs to the state. What is this going to do? So by law, we have to send it to an actuary, and then they send us the findings back. I want to make sure we're doing it right. I do not want to get back to 2005 when we were about broke. I do not want Oklahoma to look like Illinois. I want it done right. And I want to be, it's your money, and I want to be as responsible as I can with your money and make sure we're spending it correctly. I can go on, and bills that I've had, I'm disappointed. I've done several of these eggs and issues throughout the Senate district, and one eggs and issues I was going on about, you know, the bills that didn't get heard and how disappointed I was, and I forgot about all the bills that I passed, and this year I ran 60 bills. I will give you this promise: I will never do that again. Never. It was one of those deals that sounded like a good idea at the time. That is, I can promise you, running 60 bills is unmanageable. You just can't do it. I was ran ragged this year because you've got to run 60 bills through committee, and those committees aren't in one spot. And a lot of times these bills were being heard at the same time in 2 different committees on 3 different floors at the Capitol. It was crazy. And then, you know, you're carrying a load of them. You said, and the senators had a pretty good laugh at me because I'd grab the wrong bill and I'd start presenting a bill that had nothing to do with what the bill was I was supposed to present, and they had a pretty good laugh at me. I'm not doing that again. So 2 of the bills that was very close to my heart did not get heard on the Senate floor. One of those is 703. That is putting a freeze on wildlife buying more property. And wildlife owns 350,000 acres. They lease 1.2 million acres. That gives them 1.5 million acres for hunting. Now, I'm not against them leasing land. I want to know why, if you have more resources, why don't you lease 5 million acres if the need's out there, or 10 million acres? Lease more land. And I guess this bill was very close to my heart because where I live. I live in Cimarron County, and you guys are all aware of the CLO land out there, 236,000 acres in Cimarron County. 20% of Cimarron County, the state owns. I see firsthand what government owning land does to a county's economy. And with that being said, the CLO owns 750,000 acres. and it's just my principles. I don't think that the government, whether it's the federal government, the state government, should be in the business of owning property. I think that should be in the public's hands. And that bill did not get heard. I'm gonna have a meeting with the floor leader and do a little better job of working that bill with her to make sure it's heard. Starting this process, I actually thought she was going to run the bill. She believes the same way, but she didn't. I ran it, so I've got to figure out on that one where we're at on that one. But that one, just my core beliefs. I don't think the government ought to be owning property. And I don't care whether it's the CLO, whether it's the wildlife, or whether it's the Forest Service or the Park Service or BLM. I think property should be in the public's hands. America was not made great, did not become a great nation because the government owned the land. We see how well it worked for the USSR in Venezuela. It doesn't work. America is great because we have entrepreneurs that wants to get out there and work and be profitable, and that's why we're great. Another bill that didn't get heard was my drone bill, and this bill I've been working on for years. It's a private property issue for me. That's another thing that's near and dear to my heart is private property rights. I believe a man's home is his castle. I believe your property is yours, and you should be able to say who's on it and who's not on it. And that bill did not get heard. Now my pity party's over. I'm gonna quit crying and whining about the bills that didn't get heard. I'm gonna tell you what did get heard, and what is still moving along in the process. The bill that would allow farmers to carry more than 119 gallons out to their fields to fill their tractors up. That got through committee last week. Representative Newton from Cherokee is running that bill. It passed with flying colors. And back to, I'd like to have $1 for every time I said, why can't we use a little common sense down here? Why? I have no idea where they came up with 119 gallons as a limit for what you can carry out diesel. These farmers, and in this bill, it's from 599 gallons up to 1,000 gallons is what you can carry. And sorry for the pause. I was trying to think, out of those 60 bills, how many of those bills were just mine? Was just crazy ideas I thought about on my 6-hour drive to Oklahoma City. And I can't think of any. Why I had 60 bills is I do town halls. This past summer I did town halls in every town and community in the Senate district. And these bills that I run, I'll take notes on questions or issues at each place, and then I'll say, okay, well, we need to do something with this. And that's where 60 bills came up, is it came from District 27. It came from you guys that we have this problem, or we have this problem, and I was trying to address these issues. But the one that came from Texas County was when I was out at the Texas County Fair, and those church ladies had that pie booth set up, and they said what it cost for a license from the health department was $100, and then they pay the booth, and they said we may not make anything here. And so I lowered that fee from the health department. Now I didn't get it where I wanted it. It is one big horse trade. It's one big negotiation, but I did lower it from $100 to $50 per event. So if you have a booth at the Texas County Fair, it's $50 for all 3 days instead of $100 a whack. They were wanting to do $50 and then $25 an additional day, and I'm like, okay, we're not gaining anything on that one. So it's $50 flat fee. I'm getting the shut up remarks over here.
I didn't say shut up, I just said.
I saw the look. I have people in my life that's given me the same look. So I'll shut it off there and let Tanner because we all know that the big problems and big issues is on the federal level, so I'll let him talk.
Well, I'll be very brief, but because I do want to hear the questions and the concerns as well. So my name is Tanner Roberts. I'm Senator Langford's field rep for Northwest Oklahoma. So I cover about 21 counties for Senator Langford, as far east as Payne County all the way out to Cimarron. So kind of give you guys an update on what Senator Langford's working on. He actually had a committee assignment change this Congress. He's now on the Finance Committee and is no longer on the Senate Intelligence Committee. The Senate Finance Committee handles all the trade policy as well as the healthcare policy in D.C. So this is kind of a shift of focus from our office. So staying really active on a lot of those different trade issues and things that we've seen in the past year, as well as healthcare policy. So Senator Langford is actually back in Oklahoma in the middle of March, and he'll be back here in Oklahoma in April. And so we've been visiting with many hospitals and kind of talking and discussing some of the issues that they face. So if you guys ever have any input on if it's healthcare or trade, please let me know, and we can relay that on to him. This week, Senator Langford has been working on Senate Resolution 50 with Senator Blunt from Missouri, which would, this Senate resolution, it passed through the Senate Rules Committee, and unfortunately it failed when it went to the Senate for a floor vote to a 49-51 vote. This resolution would have changed the rules process when it comes to post-cloture debate time. Currently, there's a 30-hour debate time for every presidential nominee. If that's high, if that's the Supreme Court justice, or if that's an executive branch nominee, or if that's just one of our Western Court judges out here in Oklahoma. Because of this has really slowed up the process. Democrats have kind of held it up and prevented a lot of President Trump's nominees from getting through. And compared to the last three presidents, President Trump's cabinet and a lot of his nominees have not been able to get confirmed because of this. So Senator Langford was trying to, him and Senator Blunt were working together to really make the Senate more efficient on this measure and working with Senate leadership to limit this debate time. So hopefully that gained some traction, and we'll potentially see that again in the future. But that was this week's big item. Along with that, Senator Langford, another, common sense piece of legislation he's been working on with Senator Ernst from Iowa and Senator Paul from Kentucky is the COST Act. The COST Act is legislation that requires every government project supported with federal funds to include a price tag that is easily available for the taxpayers. So this would require if there's a project out there that's using federal funds, there'd be a database online or somewhere that would put it out so you would know how our tax dollars are being spent. We've seen in the past, and federal government can spend money on programs, and a lot of times we're not for sure where that money's going. And Senator Langford every year produces a federal waste book called the Federal Fumbles. It actually came out in early March and kind of highlights a lot of those areas where the federal government has dropped the ball on federal spending and federal programs that our office and others aren't specifically, in favor of. So this is a piece of legislation that would highlight some of those areas and put a price tag on that. Our office is staying busy. If there's ever anything, as I said earlier, if there's ever any input that you guys have on if it's trade or if it's healthcare policy or just wanting, to give feedback, please let us know. We would be happy to hear from you. If you also are ever dealing with any federal agency, if that's USDA or some sort of running into an issue with a federal agency, please reach out to us. Our office would be more than happy to help you. So appreciate you letting me speak today. So thank you.
Okay, we have about,
I've got one more thing to say on a bill that passed that's very important for us here, especially for our farmers. We passed yesterday in Senate Energy the bill that would allow through 10 irrigators to form an irrigation district. And what that allows is they will be able to capture more equip dollars and Leon knows how the EQUIP work. I don't know how many in here knows how the EQUIP program works on the federal level, but it's on a score, and how many points you get on your conservation practices. Well, they weight if you are, one of the questions is, are you in a water district? And you get a lot of points for that. So that should open up a lot of money, federal dollars, that are spent in the right way. Some of the federal dollars that are doing good things for our farmers to be able to capture some of that federal dollar. So that bill passed yesterday. Okay, now
Okay.
I'm ready.
So if you have questions, we have just a few more minutes if you have to be at work at 8. So.
Good morning. I'm Casey Rochoff. The money to the classroom, what can you expound on that a little bit?
How we're going to do that?
Yeah.
Not at this time. Not at this time.
Okay.
That it's right now, especially with negotiations with the House and the Senate, and they're wanting to go a 1,200 raise. We're wanting money. It's a very fluid right now, and things at the Capitol right now. This is probably the most exciting time because this, for me anyway, because this is when the negotiations are happening. But we want to get money directly to the classroom. But what avenue we're going to use, how much, it's very fluid right now. And if I told you kind of what we're looking at right now, tomorrow it'd be totally different.
General term though, for money to the classroom, is it for just educational supplies or?
It would be stuck in the formula and given to the schools through the formula, and it would be up to the schools. I have not heard that we're going to earmark any that, this is for books, this is for desks, this is for computers. Okay. But, but just support staff, more aides. The school can stick that money in the classroom. I think it'll be, this is for the classroom, and the school can decide, what does this classroom need? Does it need books? Does it need, let them decide their needs. I don't think we're going to earmark anything. We're just going to say this needs to go to the classroom. That's the only earmark that it'll be.
And the retired teachers, I wasn't exactly sure what kept saying, is it a COLA?
It's COLA, cost of living adjustment.
Okay.
And to let you know that is going to be an $850 million for a 4% raise on COLA. It's an $850 million price tag. And that should clarify why I want to do it right.
I'm Mitch Egger. I have a question for Casey and I guess Kenton too, but as you guys go through your bills, we hear you saying you're working on a lot of bills. Do you ever look at the opportunity for the panhandle, for one? And I'm not trying to, but second thing is, how do you get that out if there is an opportunity? The hemp bill, could we as private citizens put in a drying system? We need more industry out here. The last industry was Seaboard. I think they're fixing to add 60 jobs. Tri-County's fixing to do a major upgrade. I think that's going to add a lot of convention and tourism tax. But how do we capture that from your bills, and how do you guys relay that potential out?
I won't say every bill, 99% of the bills that I run is for the Panhandle. It is for opportunities in the Panhandle. The hemp, when that came around, the industrial hemp, I think I've made myself pretty clear on where I'm at on marijuana. On the industrial hemp, I think that's going to be a game changer for the entire state. I see a lot of opportunities with industrial hemp. Whenever I run a bill, I look at what I can get back here. And the good thing about me running the county option on the marijuana, that brought a lot of people out of the woodwork. That stuck me up, the face guy of hating marijuana. I had a lot of the marijuana companies come to my office, and I have made a relationship with one that's across the board, and I've been visiting with him about drying facilities, and I don't know anything about hemp or marijuana, but I do know about corn. And I do know about trucking wet corn. Your trucking's a heck of a lot more on wet corn than it is dry corn. And I told the guy that, and I said, why don't, we're gonna grow a lot of this industrial hemp in the Panhandle. Why don't we have some drying facilities in the Panhandle? And he didn't make it all the way out here. I know he went and looked at a facility in Woodward. And I think I talked to you the other day, Mitch. Does Guyman have an existing building? He went and looked at a building in Woodward that was 125,000 square foot. And if we have some facilities that would work for that, and if you know of any, let me know, and that way I can say, look, Guyman's got this facility or this facility that has gotten used. Oh, by the way, congratulations, Mitch. Getting into political office, I couldn't ask for a better guy to be there.
Well, and back to our conversation, the old High Pro building is the building behind the original High Pro, I think would facilitate that. I think it has a rail spur still in the building, not to the building. I went out and looked at that. But I think as a community, and you guys really need to stop and think, what do we have a lot of, to your point, corn, and how do we bring that industry in here? Because I think a lot of these towns are shriveling up. One of the reasons I ran is I want to be pro-community, pro-economic, and we're not going to do that on our own.
No.
So,
And-
I mean, if that potential's out there, somehow that needs to come back versus, I'm working on these bills. Like, here could be the opportunity for you guys in that. Because I don't hear that said often.
So I think I've got a dinner set up with you. I think you're going to be with the governor. That's the.
Sounds like you just ran over me.
I'm trying to. Welcome to politics. But that's another thing that I like about the governor. He's not focused just Oklahoma City and Tulsa. He's wanting every county to be productive, and he is looking at everything, and he is setting up dinners to visit with each community or major outlets in communities on what can he do to help build a community. And I think we've set up a dinner with people from Guyman to visit with him and throw ideas out there. Brent Kissling, I was ecstatic whenever he got appointed to Commerce. Brent Kissling worked in Enid, was an economic developer in Enid, and I don't know how many of you all been to Enid lately, but it is booming. And Brent Kissling is the guy that brought it all in there. I've been visiting with Brent, and we want, and kind of like what you and I talked about, we want to look at what is a community's strengths, what do they have to offer, and how do we sell that? And for us out here, what that is added value to what we produce already, and what can we do to add value to what we already have here. I mean, that's the easy lift. I think it's going to be the hard lift getting Toyota to come out here, but let's look at what strengths we have and how can we expand on that. And Brent is I was fixing to say a genius on bringing economic development. I don't give him that much credit, but this man is good at economic development, and I have been visiting with him a lot.
Just on that topic, before we get to you, Shelley, Casey's right on the value-added aspect of it. We've got to start thinking about, instead of commodity products, we've got to turn them into products that the consumer's ready to buy. We've got to take that wheat and turn it into bread. We've got to turn that corn into corn chips, or, we've got to take that cotton and we've got to build a textile mill. We got to build T-shirts here. We probably need to do it right here, and we may just have to start doing this ourselves. We maybe can't get people to come do it, but maybe we can. That's part of Casey and I's job, is finding those folks willing to take a chance on us out here. I think if we could ever get them here, we'll have them, but we have the people, the manpower, and the products to provide them. I think it's in the realm of value added, and that's an area we have not really pushed hard enough. So I think that's where we need to be. Even our food products. People People don't like to cook much anymore. It needs to be heat and eat. We need to have it in the package and ready to go in the microwave for these younger folks like Tanner. They're always fast and in a hurry. So let's provide that product to these folks. So anyway, give us some thoughts on that, and let's get started on it. I wouldn't care if we built parts for the aircraft industry in Oklahoma City. We can build them out here and ship them back to them. Some kind of specialty products, little 10 and 20 people things that build specialty items. So we got to find those, get them here, and
Well,
get on that.
one reason I am so gung ho on this industrial hemp is I had read that the BMW car, a lot of the parts on that BMW car is made out of hemp, make plastic out of hemp. Well, if we can grow it here, why not we get someone in here making parts, and a manufacturer in here that can make things out of hemp products. I'm very excited about hemp. I think this could be a game changer for Oklahoma and most definitely for the Panhandle, because we all know we can grow anything here. We've got the best farmers in the world right here, so we can grow it. We just got to sell it. You know, and we've got to look at the value added. I mean, we've said forever, farming and ranching is the only business that you when you go to town, you ask what will you take for that? You know, what's that going to cost me? And when we sell our products, it's what are you going to give me? We never step out there and say this is what we want. It's what will you take for it in our end products, and what will you give me for it when we're done? We got to change that attitude. Oh, sorry.
Good morning. I'm Shelley Melton, owner of Clinic Pharmacy here in Guyman, and I want to thank our legislators, Senator Murdoch and Representative Patkowski, for their support for the PBM bill. And I'm sure none of you know what that is, but it does affect every single person in Oklahoma that has insurance. So that's probably all of us. Would you want to speak a little bit about that, or?
I can. I think. I guess I was able to back Farm Bureau off of that. I was shocked that Farm Bureau got into this argument, but they have backed off, and that will help on this. So I think who it affects more is the small town pharmacies, is who's really taking the hit on this. And Shelley, I think you and I talked, you know, on Sundays, if you need to run down and open up and get somebody their prescription, I mean, you're there to do that. If we lose that service, I think it'll be a detriment, because you get a big corporate chain in here, they're not going to open up on Sunday for you if you need your prescription. You're not going to get the same kind of service. And
What our thing is about that, not to interrupt you, but what this bill, we call this bill the right to choose, which basically means that you as a consumer have the free will to choose any pharmacy you choose. And if you choose to go somewhere where you have a personal relationship with the pharmacist, then you should be able to do that. Right now, the way it is, that's not the case. Oklahomans are sending $1.4 billion out of state to mail order companies that are owned by these large PBMs. The total sales of prescriptions in Oklahoma is also $1.4 billion. So half of what we're doing is going out of state. None of that money staying in our economy. And so what independent pharmacists are asking for is a level playing field. Just that if you choose to come to my pharmacy, you're going to pay $10. If you want to go to Walmart, great, you're going to pay $10. If you want to use their mail order pharmacy because that's convenient for you, you'll also pay $10. Right now, that's not the way it is.
Right,
And
and
so
one
that's basically what we're asking for, because it's the best thing for you.
it is. And one story that was told to me, that this person was working at a pharmacy, and when he went to get a prescription, They were not going to allow him to buy that prescription from the pharmacy he actually worked at. He had to go somewhere else. And for me, that's wrong. I mean, you should be able to buy it wherever you want to buy it. But I think Kent and I are pretty well locked in that one.
I know you are. And the PBMs have lots and lots of money, and they've been hitting the capital hard.
I promise
And-
you, we have been
And one
hammered.
other thing I want to mention is that they're not regulated by anyone. You know, pharmacies are regulated by the state boards of pharmacy. Drug manufacturers are regulated by the FDA. Insurance companies are regulated by the Insurance Commission. These middlemen, which that they're between, they're not regulated by anyone. They can do anything they want, say anything they want, change your copay. They're the ones that decide what drugs are on the formulary, what they're going to pay for. And, you know, we're not even allowed as a pharmacist to tell you that you could get your prescription cheaper if you just paid cash than running it through on your insurance. In our contract, it's called a gag clause, and these bills would also, you know, get rid of that, where we're able to tell you when you come in, hey, it's $200 on your insurance. I can sell it to you for cash for $120. We're not allowed to do that. So this is kind of a big deal. I know both of our gentlemen are on board. I feel like Governor Stitt is. He came to visit with the pharmacist when we were there for Legislation Day. But I would encourage you to follow our Facebook page, because we put information out about this every day, and there's some great articles on there and we would encourage you to, you know, talk to your representatives and also to Governor Stitt, because it's going to be kind of a hard fight. It's been...
Well, my wife always tells me if it looks bad, it is bad. Is it CVS that just bought Aetna?
Right. So CVS, Caremark, and now Aetna is this huge PBM. They made $300 million last year.
We're
300 billion,
intertwining
excuse
this, and it just, for me, that just looks bad. It looks like a huge monopoly. When the pharmacy is also owning the insurance company, that is, it's just, it just looks bad.
But also, Senator Langford has been very active federally as far as this goes. He's a co-author on a bill, and I believe Casey's agreed to co-author the House bill that's gone over to their side. So we do appreciate your support, and it really made me a believer that they do care about rural Oklahoma, because we don't have a CVS on every corner, and if your insurance forces you to go there, you're driving to Dumas, and then therefore you're buying gas in Dumas, money's going out of Guyman. So, thank you. Oh, our Facebook page is Clinic Pharmacy. So, but thank you guys, we really do appreciate it.
Good morning, Senator. My name's J.P. Nickel. Going back to the hemp pilot program, the current hemp pilot program, how are the local farmers here supposed to come up with $75 an acre to pay the college up front before they even start planting, which seeds are costing a lot of money for industrial hemp, or you know, the feminized genetics hemp for doing CBD extraction. So when do you see that rule changing? Is it next year, or?
So, not to throw the feds under the bus, and the gentleman that is head of FSA here in Oklahoma is a good friend of mine, but we don't see eye to eye on this. He hates marijuana, he hates hemp, he is making sure he's not helping us move on and get in the, in my mind, in the race and in the competition across the country, it's who's got it first. Especially with manufacturers, we're trying to draw manufacturers in. If we wait till the very last day to get this going, how am I supposed to go out there and recruit manufacturers to come here when Kentucky's already done it? Right. We're going to be behind. On that, what I'm hearing is about the first of the year. Now, what frustrates me on that is we've missed another growing season. Yes. But that's kind of where we're at. It's I think the first year. There's a lot of logistics in this. I visited with a banker last night. I think on the federal level, they have a bill out there to allow banks to take this money. But I asked him, okay, can you loan money? Because I know it costs a lot. I was talking to a guy that was going to put 200 acres in. It was going to cost him $500,000 in seed. And I said, are you allowed to loan farmers money to go farm hemp? And he goes, it's kind of iffy. We've got to get the feds on board and address the laws that's already on the books that's outlawing hemp or marijuana, just so that we can get the financing. I don't know about a lot of people, but I don't have the money in my pocket to go out there and start this on my own. I've got to go to the bank, so we've got to get everything on board, and so we can get really going. We're addressing some stuff, but right now all we have in Oklahoma is just that pilot program with the colleges, and I was hoping they would be more on board as far as just letting them pass through and get this going, but.
Well, it almost deters the farmers from even going after that.
Well, I'm all about the small guy because I'm one of them. That small guy can't get in there and do it. You're going to have your big guys that have the cash in the pocket and go out there and do it. But I guess my answer to your question is just please be patient. It is coming. And I am just as frustrated as you are that I'm afraid we're going to wind up being last in line and getting this all done, and we're going to be beat out by Kentucky because Kentucky wants this, and Mitch McConnell is pushing this. That's how it got passed through at the federal level. They're going to push it. They want the industry there, which we need it here. And I think when I see these factories coming in, I see them out here because of trucking. Why not? It's kind of like why do we have feed yards here? Because we grow corn here. It's easier to ship the cattle to the corn than the corn to the cattle. Same way here. It's easier to ship the hemp, industrial hemp, to that factory when it's just across the road from the farm than sticking it on a train and hauling it 500 miles. So as far as kind of like what Mitch and I were talking about earlier, we have what we need right here to really be successful in bringing industry in, to build these products, to manufacture whatever we need to do with hemp. I mean, the opportunity is, the sky's the limit. But I guess my answer to you is just be patient. It's coming. What I'm hearing is about the first of the year that is when we'll have that.
Thank you.
Be at work at 8, you're late.
Along those same lines, Senator, what positive role does hemp play in the water conservation program? I know what the evaporation rate of corn is, 400,000 gallons of water a day per acre.
So
What kind of role does hemp play in water conservation program?
So I'm gonna start off with a story. I always like to tell a little story. So I am, I go to several conferences around, ag conferences, and actually this year I'm fixing to be chairman of Ag and Rural Development in the Southern Legislative Conference. But I was going to the conference up in Canada, and I was filling out the form, and they said, "What are you interested in?" And I had checked, I'm interested in hemp because this is fixing to be a big deal. I get an email back that they're gonna pay for my travel, and they're gonna pay for my hotel room, and I asked my EA, I said, "Why are they doing that?" She goes, "Oh, because you're speaking." And I said, "What am I speaking on?" "Oh, you signed up to speak on hemp." And I'm like, "What?" I had checked the wrong box. So I have studied up on this quite a little bit. Hemp, it uses about half the water that wheat does. So you're not having to pour a whole lot of water to it, just in irrigation. The root system is huge, so if you want to go in and rotate that through, it breaks up the soil, so it will improve your farm if you rotate it through your farm. I have not drank the Kool-Aid. I don't want to say it's the miracle plant, but let's just say it would not hurt our farmers to put that in as an option in improving their farm and their bottom line. It'll save their water, it will be better for their soils, and then they have a pretty good cash crop along with it. Did that answer your question?
As far as it comes,
Hang on. I'm not as fast as you are.
my name's Adam Spence. As far as the big money yield in the CBD flower, and that's the market that everyone's wanting to get into. You pretty much need to be an organic farm to be able to get it there. Is there anything that we can do to aid in that? Because that is a stretch for a farmer to go that 2 years to take that beating, But what it's going to do for the economy here and come in is huge. But for someone to be able to take on that beating for 2 years, it's just, almost unobtainable.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I can look into that and see. One answer is the guy that I talked to was partnering with the farmers. They would provide the seed. They would provide a lot of it, and I think there's a guy. I can't tell you what the contract says because there's a.
We know what it said.
Okay, but I think there's a lot of companies, because it is so expensive to go in. They're doing a lot of financing themselves. But you got to be careful, because I think there's some bad companies out there too that's looking to take advantage of people.
Absolutely.
Here's something that you need to think about and moving forward in different counties. So in Colorado, Pueblo County has completely eliminated all male pollination. So in that county, you cannot grow industrial hemp because of the male pollen can pollinate the feminized crops that are high value crops. They're getting $42 a pound for their female genetics. So that's big money in the industry. So there was a few farms that just went ahead and grew industrial hemp anyway, and it ended up ruining millions and millions of dollars worth of crop. So moving forward, when you guys decide what you're going to grow in this area, I think you need to have regulations in place that, okay, this is an industrial hemp zone, this is all we're growing here, and that way you don't cross-pollinate these high-value crops in other areas.
Right, and so, and Kenton has the bill here. I think he said he was going to let you have what we're running right now.
I've got the bill, but it's very vague. All it says is we're going to follow United States Department of Agriculture rules. It don't even give a time. It just barely opens the can.
But what it does do is it allows the Department of Ag in Oklahoma to start setting up the rules to the road. And so I think when we get into this process, especially the rule-making process, it might, if you have some concerns, it might serve your time well to go down there and be part of that. And if they wind up setting up a committee on this, if you want to be part of it, I'd be willing to put your name in there and let the Secretary of Ag know that you have some pretty good ideas if you want to be part of that process.
Show up and you get put to work. How about that? Do we have any other questions? Any comments?
Hey, I've got one last comment.
Okay.
It's on capital renovations. I just wanted to give you an update of where they are there. I was told they pretty much got 1, 2, and 3 done on the house side. They're gonna kind of deviate from the original plan. They're gonna rip out 4 and 5 this summer, soon as session is over. And So floors 4 and 5 on the House side will be redone by next year. And that will demolish my little office. And oh, one other thing, when we had Guyman's group in there, I really do have the smallest office in the Capitol, and we had 19 people of the Guyman group in there the other day.
got 'em fit in?
Got them all in there, and we've got proof. We got a picture of it.
I have my foot in. I didn't get all the way in.
One thing I want to bring up, and I think you asked me at the last meeting about the help me, remind me the question you asked me last meeting. Last eggs and issues. You.
Oh, I asked you about the, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Imagine that.
I asked you about the redistricting.
That's it. So that bill did not make it to the floor, but there was another bill that came from the House on redistricting. That, and I wanted to clarify, I voted for that in Judiciary Committee. That's a little different. It's a little more palatable bill, but I want to let you know where I'm at on that. This was a very, very hard decision for me to make on voting for redistricting the Supreme Court is what this issue is about. Very hard decision. It was hard enough the governor, that was why he was in my office this week to visit with me about it. Because my concerns is by the same as yours, Vonda, what is that going to do to rural Oklahoma, redistricting these courts, and how we're going to do it. A lot of concerns. But why it was so hard on the other side is our Supreme Court in Oklahoma is so far liberal. I mean, they are. I don't want to put them in conjunction with the Ninth Circuit Court. I don't think they're that bad, but I would like to see some judicial reform across the board, and this is what I had told the governor when he was in my office. I don't think we need to stop there. I think we need a lot better process. The process now on how we pick a Supreme Court justice, you might have to help me, Vonda. What is the group that submits the names? It's the board. It's the Judicial Nominating Commission? Yeah, but it's the lawyers. What is that? What are they called?
I thought that was the Judicial Nominating. No, ABA.
What?
ABA.
ABA submits 3 names to the governor, and he picks from those 3. And back to accountability, back to giving the governor the authority to make good decisions. I want to see the process better. I want the governor to be able to go out and pick the best candidate, not a lawyers group picking the judges. And as far as the way this is going to work, this new bill, it's still the 5 congressional districts with 4 outstanding seats. Rural Oklahoma would have the opportunity to possibly have 5 judges because you have 4 outstanding seats, and then, well, when I say that, our district, and then we could pick a judge from the 5th district or the 3rd district. But you also have to pick from your pool of judges, and most definitely there's more in the urban areas. But that was a tough vote for me. That was, this is probably the toughest vote I took all session long on this, because it was, I felt it was, I had to make a decision on rural or my conservative values, and that was tough.
So I understand that that's the selling point that people are trying to make for the redistricting, that we could have these people, but the way that it was before ensured that rural would have representation, the way the lines were drawn. So this means that there's a likely potential that we won't have representation. And the Judicial Nominating Commission is the one that sends the 3 names to the governor, and they are a group composed of lawyers and lay people.
Any more questions? We got really quiet. I can't handle quiet.
Oh,
I
no.
have too many kids. Okay, so are there any more comments or anything by either you two, three? Sorry, Tanner, you moved out of the way. About didn't count you.
How much time do we have?
Till you quit talking.
I do want to bring up, I thought there'd be a question on this. Since we're here, I want to bring up a press release that the wildlife put out on some of my bills. In this press release that they put out, back to where our agencies are running amok and we need to get them pulled the strings up. I visited with the director of wildlife yesterday driving home and had another conversation on this press release that they put out. And I told him, I said, I don't mind having a vibrant debate on issues and on a bill on the good or the bad. This bill does this and it's bad because it does this, or this bill is good because it does this. But to come out and mislead the public in a bogus press release is, in my mind, totally wrong. And in my mind, it's totally wrong for an agency to mislead the public in a press release on what legislation does. The one bill that they talked about let me find it here. So out-of-state landowners, I have a bill that would allow them to hunt their own property for the in-state hunting rate. So that was, and back to constituent request, I guess it wasn't constituent request, but look where we live. You can live 2 miles into Kansas and your whole operation is in Oklahoma. Why shouldn't you be able to go down and hunt your property? And back to, like I said before, property rights is my number one issue, is property rights. And for me, it shouldn't matter whether there's a state line in between. If you own a piece of property, you should be able to do whatever you want with your piece of property. And this would just allow an out-of-state person to hunt his property for an in-state hunting license rate. But the wildlife put out that said I was giving them a better deal, that I was actually, this bill would give them half rate, $25 for a hunting license, when in fact the rate is $41 to $52 depending on when you get the license. That's what the press release said I was going to give it for $25. There's nowhere in my bill that says anything about that. And I was interviewed by Channel 4 News and they asked me about it, and I said, I'd buy you a steak dinner if you can find anywhere in this bill where I'm giving an out-of-state person a cheaper rate than an in-state person. Why would I do that? Why would I give somebody living outside of Oklahoma a better deal than in-state? And I guess what frustrates me, like I said earlier today, when people lie about what I'm doing or about me, I get irritated, and that was a bald-faced lie. And then they come down and another bill, they misled the public in the bill. And what it's doing, it has dramatically reduces the state game wardens to stop poaching and trespassing on private land. That was what they said about my bill in this press release. Now, do you know what the bill actually does? The bill actually says you can kill a feral hog anywhere, anyhow, using anything that you need to kill the feral hog without asking the state's permission. We don't have a problem out here with feral hogs yet, I hope. We never do. But feral hogs is causing millions and millions of dollars worth of damage downstate. They're horrible, and we should kill them at any chance we can, and we'll still never get rid of them. How many people are familiar with pigs? You know how often, what is it, 3 months? They can have a litter every 3 months, and then that litter, when they get to age in 6 months, then they can start having litters. We're never going to, it's going to be a problem from now on. We should be able to kill them any chance we can. Well, that's what my bill said. But how they described it in their press release was I was allowing trespassing and poaching. Totally misrepresented what these bills did in a press release with their seal of approval up here. Using state funds to lobby the public. That's when I hit the roof. We do have a swamp down there. It's not as big as Washington, but cronyism, and I feel like it's my job when I'm chairman of Ag and Wildlife. My job as chairman of Ag and Wildlife is not to take care of these agencies. My job is I represent you. I'm your voice there to make sure these agencies are taking care of you and your needs. And I wanted to bring this out. That's why you were wanting to get to questions so fast, because I got beat up at Fairview on this. And I did get a little hot because I'm passionate about taking care of my people. And I had filed, and the antelope issue. Let's talk about antelope real quick, if you guys got time. Antelope, that's about the biggest thing we've done. Kenton, you and I together. The antelope are horrible out here. And I know I have been working on it for 4 years, trying to get something done. And wildlife has stiff-armed me the whole way. I truly believe they've lied to me the whole way, because started out my conversation my first year is we need to do something with the antelope. We need to, up permits. Can we give landowners more permits so they can take care of the antelope that's on their property? No, we don't have enough antelope. We've only got about 1,200 to 1,800 antelope out there. And I said, have you been out there? Because I can tell you that there's a lot more. That's just one field. But they kept pushing us back in my 4 years down there. And so this year I decided, okay, I'm gonna bring them to the table. So I filed some bills that got their attention. I filed a bill that said that wildlife employees cannot hunt wildlife land or state land. That got them to the table.
And then I filed one. He didn't even know it.
And
People were calling me, so I just got mine going. It was a nice one. Man, it was the it was the Antelope Hunting Enhancement Act. It had a good name. All we were going to do was double the tags.
And so,
a nice solution. And it was no big time. And I go, what? We've got all these antelope. We need to hunt them. We need to reduce the population. And I got big pushback from the wildlife department over trying to do what the people in Cimarron and Texas County really need done, is lower the population. Just increase the tax. Simple solution.
So
No.
when you get that pushback, and Kenton was getting what I got for 3 years, that bill about saying their employees can't hunt public land, that got them to the table. They walked into my office, and their first request was double landowner tags. I'm like, okay, because that's what Kenton and I was wanting, was double the tags. We got doubling the tags. Nice. But so in Fairview, we took, it got pretty hot, didn't it? It did. Got pretty hot.
Wish I could have been there.
But the gentleman asked me if I was going to continue to run these strong arm bills like this. And I said, yes, I am. I'm going to run whatever I have to run to accomplish what I need to accomplish for my district. And if I have to run a bill that says we're going to cut the agency's head off, I'm going to run that bill. If he keeps ignoring us, I am tired of them ignoring us on our needs out here. And I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure our needs are taken care of. And I will stand firm on that. I didn't know whether you heard about this. I'm sure you had, but I wanted to address this. I thought I might get a question after last week. I thought I might get a question on it, so I had my file here ready. But since the question didn't come up on it, I wanted to bring it up.
Senator, I I agree with you on your bill to limit how much land the Wildlife Commission can own, because I agree that, I don't think state entities or federal entities need to be owning the land. It needs to be the private landowners that own the land. And I think, if the wildlife is really interested in increasing the amount of land available, I know they currently have a program to for landowners, if they make their land available for people to walk in, that they pay them a very small fee. But if they're truly interested in increasing that, if they would increase that fee that they would pay to us landowners, if we would allow just anybody to walk in on our property and hunt, that would be a much more feasible way, in my opinion, and it still keeps the land in the private hands. It also adds economic development to that, to where that money would turn over in our local communities instead of going to the state agencies and stuff. So I approve of your bill, and I hopefully it'll become law sooner or later. So.
Well, and when I started this, the first reasoning behind the bill is my belief that a government doesn't need to be on the land. But whenever I got into this and studying on this, they're in direct competition with farmers. And I had requested the minutes of their wildlife meetings from November and December. And the reason I did that is because in that meeting I was told that they said we need to get out and buy this land before farmers can get it bought. Got the minutes, read through it. It was not in there, but they went to executive session, and I think it was said in executive session. I thought I had the smoking gun right there, but I didn't. But they are in direct competition with agriculture when they're out there in the market buying land.
Senator, my name is Mike Lindsay. There's another agency that needs your attention as well, as far as the overreach that they have attained, and that's the DHS.
Yes.
Kids these days are using the DHS like a bunch of hired guns to come into their house and threaten their parents. Against the use of any type of corporal punishment or restriction of rights and such as that. And it's like a horse with cold jaw. I don't know if you ever, parents have little or no defense against the DHS.
You're exactly right, and your analogy is exactly right, because I've been on a horse that's got cold jaw, and that's a little scary.
It is. They're going to go where they want to go, and they forget who's doing the riding.
We are. That agency is getting looked into, and I am not going to expound on what's going on, but you are probably going to see in the media before long some activities that has been going on in that agency that is not good, and so they are an agency we're gonna start digging into. I talked about wildlife because I'm chairman of that committee, but it's every agency down there we have got to go through with a fine-tooth comb and get the reins pulled up on them. The founding fathers of Oklahoma, when we started the state, I know they were wanting, we're a populous state, and they were wanting to do the best job they could, but the way they set it up with the boards and how all that works, it really, in my mind, set it up for, and I don't want to use the word corruption, but it set it up for misuse. And if you found the misuse or the mismanagement, it was really, really hard to address that issue because it was so slow to get that fixed. The way they staggered out the board members on their terms, and the board is who hires the agency head, and it makes it, that's why this job, and especially why I applaud the governor to wade in there and want to fix it. this is a big mess, and to wade in there and start trying to fix it is a big job. And back to, you're all just going to need to have patience, because it's going to take a long time to get this train back on the track. But I think we're heading in the right direction.
Well, the parents need a voice of advocacy for themselves. They need someone who sits with them for these hearings or these things that the DHS imposes.
And I get the fact that, I mean, when a child is being abused or neglected, we need to take care of that child, and we've got to take care of that. But I think we've went overboard. I think the pendulum has swung way too far, and when they walk in, and I still believe you're innocent until proven guilty, and they walk in and that parent's guilty right off the bat, we've swung too far. I mean, if you walk in the house and you can actually see abuse and neglect, yeah, take over. But I've dealt with this, and not in the parents, but and I actually had a bill that didn't get heard, but for daycare centers. An issue is brought to me, and DHS, if someone drove by a daycare center and called and reported them for something, just driving by, just a drive-by, they would be investigated, and they would have in their file a complaint that they can't get off, whether it's true or not. It's in their file of a complaint. And so when you're looking for daycare and you go Google it, well, they've had 8 complaints. Well, you could have a competitor, a daycare competitor, drive by and file a complaint, and it's in their record. We just need to start tweaking the system and fixing a lot of things that needs to be fixed.
Well, I would like to thank everybody for coming. I'm sure that the senator and the representative will be here for just a few more minutes. I don't know if Tanner has to run along or not. But anyway, everybody's going to be here for a few minutes. So if you didn't get something asked, or if you need clarification on something, they're here for just a little bit. So if you can come up and chat with them and talk their ear off. But I'd really like to thank TCEC. We appreciate breakfast, and we appreciate the nice little gift. We appreciate PTCI for filming and putting us online. And we won't be here in May, because I want you all to come to Pioneer Days and go support all the events that are happening during Pioneer Days. Lots of things happening. And we will be back in June, and these two guys get to decide when. So usually we have to negotiate the best day. So anyway, I appreciate everybody coming. From the Guyman Chamber of Commerce, thank you. Have a great day.